The epic Casebook. In which Inspector Carr investigates.
Have you ever wondered at the extraordinary mechanism of the human mind, particularly in relation to the past? A chance remark, a trivial incident, a fleeting item in a newspaper, any one of these can result in the sudden memory of something we had forgotten, or, to be more accurate, had gone so deep into one's subconscious as to be thought forgotten. Remember my dramatising the investigation into the shooting of an orator as he was haranguing the crowd at Hyde Park's Speaker's Corner? Well, it was the reading of a violent demonstration at what is, after all, a leading London tourist attraction that brought to mind the murder and sent me delving into my casebook of crime. By the same token, a simple announcement by the Borough Council to the effect that a freeway was being built between Edmonton and Hornsey Rise brought vividly to my mind a murder committed at a printing works near what is known as Hornsey Green. Let me tell you about it. I've called my story A Typeset for Death. The weather was at its worst, with the persistent drizzle of rain and the harsh biting winds creating traffic chaos, as well as an atmosphere of gloom. I splashed along the wet pavements with one thought in my mind, to get to my office as quickly as possible, so that I might take the chill out of my bones by consuming a hot cup of coffee. It was not to be. If anyone wants me up, I'll be in the canteen.
Hey, good sir. Oh, just a minute, sir.
What?
I've got the Chief Inspector on the line.
What is it, Ops?
Oh, call's just come through, sir. Murder.
Oh, no.
Just a minute, sir. It's a man identified as Martin Craddock. He's been found dead at Craddock Printing Works, Farthing Lane.
Not a nice morning for it, is it, sir? Good morning.
Good morning, Sergeant. Murder never is very nice, whatever the climate. Not a very large printing works. Who's inside?
Oh, 3 workmen. Not that they'll do much work today, sir.
Were you sent from the local patch?
Yes, sir. Information came through to say you were on your way. Dr. Arnold's on an urgent case.
A call came through from Mr. Brett.
That's right, sir. He's the foreman. He opened the premises.
Well, there's no point in getting more wet than is necessary. Let's go in.
Right, sir.
Oh, what's your name, Sergeant?
Aston, sir.
Oh.
This gentleman is Chief Inspector Carr of the Murder Squad.
Morning, gentlemen. Seems a grim sort of morning all round, doesn't it? So this is or was Mr. Craddock. He lay sprawled on the floor of the printing shed. Nearby was a large bench upon which were various cases of type. The matted hair and the ugly gaping wound told the brutal cause of death. Nasty business.
Yes, sir.
You did say, Sergeant, the doctor's been and gone.
That's right, sir. It says Craddock's been dead some hours.
And he was in this position when you discovered the body, Mr. Brett?
Yes, sir.
Dr. Arnold made a point of saying that there was nothing he could do. He'd better not change the position of the body.
That's quite right. There's something that worries me.
Oh? What's that, sir?
This man's clothes, sopping wet. If your boss, Mr. Brett, was killed here under cover, and there's no doubt that your doctor is right about the poor chap being dead some hours, rigor mortis has obviously set in.
I agree with you, sir. I was just going off duty when the call came through. It didn't start raining until about 6 o'clock this morning.
You sure of that, Sergeant?
Well, positive, sir. I don't know what it was like in the other parts of London. It's been pretty windy and miserable all night, but there was no rain.
That's interesting. Very interesting. What's that?
Well, that's our Miss Froome. She's opened up the office 9 o'clock.
Oh, Steve, how's the worksheet? Here, what's going on? Aren't the machines rolling?
What?
Has there been a burglary or something? Hello, Harry. What? Oh.
Phil, get a cup of water, quick. Right. Shock for anyone, seeing a thing like
Look here, Sergeant, to help me lift the young lady, we'd better try and get her into that office, sir.
Come on.
I'll be all right.
Look, as soon as we get you comfortable, I'll suggest we all have a nice cup of tea. Oh, is that possible?
I think it's a good idea, sir. We can all do
Now,
it.
steady, young lady. You just lean on us.
I can't wait to look at him. I can't bear it.
It's a shocking sight for anyone to have to bear. That's it. Now, in we go. The sergeant and I managed to get the trembling, white-faced young woman to her chair facing a small office desk. As I'd been driven towards the scene of the crime, I'd anticipated a simple act of murder, with robbery as the motive. It was now clear that the investigation was going to be far from simple.
Oh, fancy me doing such a daft thing as passing out.
No, it wasn't daft at all, Iris. Enough to make anyone pass out.
I'm all right now. I'll make the tea.
No, you stay right there, my girl. I know where everything's kept. I'll put the kettle on.
Oh, Tom. Oh, you'll find some sugar in that shelf there.
I know where it's kept.
All right, Mr. Brett. Let's hear from you what happened this morning.
Well, Governor, I arrived here at 7 a.m. We had a rush job.
Now, just a minute. How did you get into the works? You got a key?
No. No one keeps the key other than the boss.
Well, what time did he arrive, usually?
7 o'clock. Never missed.
Yes, but surely there must have been days when he was away or indisposed.
Oh, well, Iris opens up.
Yeah, that's right. I got a key to the office. If Mr. Craddock was away or he didn't feel like going in early, he'd phone me and I'd be here in time to let them all in.
I see you have a key to this office.
Yes.
But not for the door that leads into the works.
No.
And what about the communicating door separating this office from the works? That office over there, is that kept unlocked?
No, not during the day.
But when you go off at night, or you have to leave the office for any reason...
Well, if you take a look here, sir, you'll see it's one of those self-locking jobs.
Huh?
You can't open it on the outside without a key.
Yes. Yes, I see. Now, when you came in this morning, Mr. Brett, did you get any impression there had been a struggle or that something had been taken from the works?
No. No, I didn't, sir.
And you, Miss Froome? Was there anything unusual in this office? Did you let yourself in the usual way, by means of the key, I mean?
I never dreamt. Oh, it was just like any other morning. So I thought.
Now, all of you, I want...
Please, can't we do something about Mr. Craddock lying there?
Yes, perhaps you're right. Yes, we can. Oh, and may I use the phone?
Of course.
Thank you.
New Scotland Yard.
Ops, car here. The print men had better come over right away.
Oh, right.
Get through to the ambulance. There's no point in keeping the body here. He's been examined by the local police surgeon. I'll have a word with the doctor as soon as I've finished here.
Very good, sir.
Usual routine. Get the full background on Martin Craddock.
Right, sir.
Now, first of all, let's introduce ourselves. I'm Chief Inspector Carr. Now, that's for your benefit, Miss Froome. Now, I know your name. You are,
My name's Joplin. Phil Joplin.
Thank you.
And I'm Doug Shadwell. You don't think any of us have done it, do you?
My dear Mr. Shadwell, at this stage in the investigation, all I can think about is the gathering of as many facts as I can. I never start pointing fingers until I'm reasonably sure that every angle has been examined, as it were. Now, the first and obvious question. Why? I don't suppose there's anything of sufficient value in a printing works of this nature to consider robbery as the motive? Well, if not robbery, what? You any ideas on the subject, Mr. Brett? I see you're all looking at each other. Isn't anybody going to say anything? Believe you me, when that police torch starts lighting up the dark corners...
All right. If nobody will talk, I will. Mr. Martin Craddock was a nasty piece of work. Wasn't he, Iris? You see, Mr. Carr, Iris Froome is serving out a notice. She leaves tomorrow.
Shut your mouth, Doug. You think Iris would clobber Mr. Craddock just because he gave her the sack?
I didn't say Iris clobbered him. All I'm saying is that he's found himself another... What would you call them, Iris? Private, very private secretary.
That's enough of that, Shadwell.
No, Sergeant. Mr. Shadwell's entitled to say his piece. The man out there has been clobbered to death. I told you that I don't start pointing the finger of suspicion so early in the investigation. I do that after I get my facts together, and the facts I must have. Of course, everyone remotely connected with the man will be probed, dissected. We'll even know what you had for breakfast last Tuesday week, and that includes you, Sergeant. Now, let's get on with it. Have you any idea who did this thing, Miss Froome?
No, of course not. But Doug's right. He treated me like I was some cheap woman of the streets. But not when I first started to work here. Oh, no, he didn't then. All smiles and charm. Oh, wish I was dead.
I'm sorry. Normally I conduct any questioning individually and in private. But something tells me that we'll get to the truth quicker if we do it as a group. Now, can any of you identify anyone as a possible culprit? I see. You didn't like Craddock, did you, Mr. Chapel?
No, I didn't. But then I don't like bosses on principle. But I didn't ever consider murdering him. I mean, why should I? I could always quit. There's no better line of man in business. Ask Sid here.
Well, what about you, Mr. Sidney Brett? How did you get on with your employer?
All right. Told me all I knew about the printing game. What he did in his private life's no concern of mine. I've no reason to have disliked him.
No reason? Of course you had no reason. Because you were his stooge, that's why. Walk in of a morning 5 minutes late, Mr. Craddock Doug's late again.
If I'd had my way, you'd have been fired long ago. What about the time we found you printing your own private visiting card?
Well, what about it? It was only a quid's worth.
All right, gentlemen.
Shall I answer?
No, allow me. Hello.
Is that the Craddock Printing Works?
Yes, who do you wish to speak to?
Craddock. That rotten swine? Martin Craddock.
It would appear that the murdered man was not exactly popular with everyone. Whether the man on the telephone would prove to be an unnecessary interruption, or whether a new lead had opened up, remained to be seen. Who wishes to speak to him, please?
My name is Froome. I'm Morris's father. And you can tell that boss of yours that by the time I'm through with him, he'll wish he were dead.
I'm afraid he's that already.
What? What's that you said?
Your daughter's employer has been found murdered. I happen to be a police officer.
Well,
perhaps we can communicate later.
Where's my Iris?
She's here. Good day to you. It was your father, Miss Froome, wanting to speak to Craddock.
Oh, I told him not to interfere.
Oh, the ambulance and print men have arrived together. There'll obviously be no printing done today. Sergeant, I want this place sealed once the boffins have done their stuff and the body's been removed.
Right, sir.
Now, I want everybody's name and address, and I'll ask you all kindly to refrain from talking too much about the murder.
Right, Inspector.
Sergeant, anything crops up, you can get me back at the yard.
Right, sir.
His next of kin will have to be informed. Can't wait until the reporters hear of it. Was Mr. Craddock married?
A widower, sir. Lived in a private hotel called the Portland. I don't know of any next of kin.
We'll find out soon enough.
Next of kin, sir. Brother. Andrew Craddock lives at 18 Hornsey Green.
I see. What about Craddock?
Got it here, sir. Age 56. Wife died 4 years ago. No children. Business reasonably prosperous. No debts. Made no will.
Oh, that simplifies that. Well, what about his movements?
Also, manager of Portland Hotel said that Craddock didn't return home for dinner, that his bed wasn't slept in, but it was no cause for concern, as he frequently stayed out all night. Says Craddock used to visit Turkish baths.
A euphemism, I should imagine, from what we know so far.
Should think so, sir.
But have discreet inquiries been made concerning Sergeant Aston?
Yes, sir. He was on duty all night, sir.
Yes, I realise that. But the Edmonton station is less than 10 minutes' walk from the printing works. He could have been a party to the murder. I see there's a shocked silence, Ops. Listen, he's a very bright young policeman, is Aston. It was he who pointed out that the dead man's clothes were sopping wet, although Craddock had been dead some hours and was found inside the works. He pointed out that it didn't start raining until 6 o'clock. Now, what does that mean, Ops?
Craddock was caught somewhere else, sir.
Exactly. He's obviously keen on this girl, Froome. She could have coshed her employer as they were both walking away from the works. She's terrified at what she's done, knows Aston is on duty. He rushes over, drags the body back into the works. They lock the place up. Remember, she's got a key to the office. They could have dragged the body through the office, through the communicating door, where Brett found him.
But if the sergeant did that, sir, why should he point out to the man's wet clothes, sir?
Because he had to work fast. 6 o'clock. It was becoming light. Any passing traffic could see the body lying outside where the girl coshed him, and because he was aware that any trained detective would realize the conflict between the time of death and the wet clothes, or, for that matter, Aston could have coshed Craddock himself.
Is that what you think happened, sir?
At this stage of the proceedings, I'm merely conjuring up various possibilities. My compliments to Dr. Macpherson. See if he can give me a more accurate ETD. Right. After all, the time of death is crucial to the investigation.
Very good, sir.
And order of vehicle, Ops. I'm returning to Edmonton. Well, Sergeant, what have you discovered, if anything?
Well, I did as you requested, sir. Took a statement from Iris Froome. She says...
Well, come on, Sergeant, let's have it.
Well, she was watching television last night, sir, until the close down. Then went for a walk and got home at about 1:15 this morning.
Just a minute, Sergeant. You say she was watching television and then went for a walk and got home. Was she at home until TV closed down?
No, sir, she was with me. She came round to my digs.
I see. And did you walk her home, Sergeant?
Yes, I did, sir.
By chance, did you walk anywhere near the printing works?
She didn't do it, sir.
Please answer my question, Sergeant.
I'm in digs in Plantation Road. To get to Iris's place, we cross Hornsey Green.
And that's that patch of green behind the printing works?
Yes.
Don't you think you ought to have told me all this before?
No, sir, it's got nothing to do with the murder.
What time did you commence night duty?
Well, I did a 6-hour shift, 0200 to 0800 hours, sir. Oh, excuse me, sir. Please?
Yard here. Chief Inspector Carr, will you?
Here's it, sir, for you, sir.
Oh, thank you. Hello.
Operations here, sir.
Yes, Ops.
Senior Police Sergeant says ETD was between 11 p.m. and 1 a.m. No one seems to have seen him after he left.
Thank you. Anything else?
Oh, Philip Joplin. Married, 2 children, alibi watertight, sir.
Chadwell?
Known to the yard as a troublemaker. Was fined £50 during Easter for causing a public disturbance. Said to be of a violent character, sir.
Thank you. Anything else?
Not at the moment, sir. We'll contact you as soon as X-Branch send anything through.
Thanks, Ops. Tell them to keep searching for that murder weapon. They say that nothing's missing, but it could have been a hammer, spanner, anything.
Right, sir.
Oh, what about Brett?
Well, nothing known at the yard, sir. In comfortable circumstances. But perhaps the local patch...
Yes, all right, Ops. Thank you. Oh, we now know he was killed between 11 a.m. and 1 a.m.
Iris didn't do it, sir.
Did you?
No, sir. Well, I love Iris. Have done since we were kids at school together. I hated Craddock for what he did to her, but I didn't kill him.
No, Sergeant, I don't think you did. My and Tenny tell me you're innocent. And if you're innocent, Miss Froome must be too, because she was in your company at the time of the murder. Did you get close to the printing works?
Within 200 yards, sir.
Could you see whether there was a light on?
We wouldn't have been able to see, sir, because the green skirts the back of the works and there were no windows.
I see. Well, I now think you're innocent, Sergeant, because you did not arrive on duty until 2 a.m. Had Dr. Macpherson put the ETD after that time, then I'd put you down as the killer.
I don't understand, sir.
Well, because the murderer was clumsy. Why drag the body back into the works if Craddock was killed outside? On the other hand, if you were on duty and left the station on some pretext or other in order to commit murder, you'd have to work fast. You'd have had knowledge that Miss Froome was with Craddock at the works, rushed over there, clobbered him as he was walking away, and then dragged him back inside.
And now, sir?
Oh, don't be a fool, man. You're a trained police sergeant. You had all the time in the world to do it. Clobber him, take his wristwatch or pocketbook, and then report seeing some sinister character running away. No, you didn't do it. But who did, Sergeant Aston? Who did? The usual rhetorical question, a question that went unanswered. No one saw Craddock. We knew that he'd remained behind at the works when his employees had gone. We knew that he'd dined that night at a small restaurant. This was at 8 p.m., after the works had closed. But where did he go from there? Not one single human being was able to supply the answer. No motive, no strong suspect, now that I'd decided the sergeant and therefore the girl were in the clear. I thought I'd do a little probing in the direction of Douglas Shadwell. Ready for another, Mr. Shadwell?
No, thank you. I've got to get home to the missus. Why don't you come out with it? What do you want to know? I hated him and everything he stood for, but I didn't bump him off.
Your alibi is not so hot, you know. Oh, I know that your wife can corroborate, but...
Come up it, Chief Inspector. You can't try your strong-arm methods on me. I was home in bed with my missus, and you've no right to call her a liar or me.
Now, keep your shirt on. No one's calling you a liar. Now, listen, Chadwell. I know you believe the system is all wrong, and I know your convictions.
Oh, so that's it. My police record. Just because I pushed some silly old tart and she fell over. It was a political demonstration. It wasn't...
Let's not quarrel, Mr. Shadwell. You think the girl did it. We're convinced otherwise.
I didn't say that. If you say she didn't do it, then I'm glad for her sake. May have shot my mouth off. We were all edgy. Not a pleasant thing to have happened.
Fair enough. According to all your statements, Miss Froome left the office at 5:30. You all had a rush job to do, which finished at 7 o'clock. And then you, Joplin, and Brett left the works and all had a drink at the King's Arms. You were all there for about 10 minutes. You left the pub together and went your separate ways.
That's it. And when we left the old boy back in the works, he was still alive and well.
We know that he left the works just before 8 o'clock, went to a nearby restaurant, stayed there for about 40 minutes, but from that second on, he seems to have vanished into thin air.
Aye, but we know where he finished up, don't we?
Yes, we do. Is there nothing else you can think of?
No, nothing at all. Why don't you have a word with Sid?
Oh, I have. However, I'll take your advice and see him again. That's a very nice house you've got here, Mr. Brett.
Well, we like it.
It's nice of you to agree to see me again. I need to talk to someone. The murder of your boss is a complete mystery. We've checked every possible angle. I've had a dozen men working on his sex life. You know, some unknown irate husband or boyfriend.
Why not girlfriend?
Yeah, that's true. Except Craddock was an unusually tall man, and that crack on his skull would take some considerable strength. I see you've got yourself a nice new colour TV set.
Yeah. Keeps us all amused at night.
I've been looking at your bank account. I see that you put in £500 3 weeks ago. Had a good win at the races?
What is this?
I don't know. But I have a feeling you know more than you care to tell me. You have a wife and 3 children, Mr. Brett. I'm afraid I'll have to question them. You killed Craddock. Why? You left your house at 9 p.m. You were not in the local. Where did you go? Look, it's no good, Mr. Brett. If you make a clean breast of things, it'll be better for you in the long run, and your family.
What have I done? What have I done? He came back that night, told me a lie. Told me he was going to have some dinner at an early night.
Back to the works.
All right. I knew you'd guess something by the way you looked round the furniture. I'd been printing at night. Porn.
Pornography?
They used to send me the works manuscript, and I used to...
I knew it. So, that's where the papers have been going. Let me see. I'll stop the machine. Oh, horrible. You with a nice wife and 3 body children. Give me these.
Look, boss, I can explain.
Come on, it's nearly midnight. Get out, I'm locking this place up.
I haven't been doing this for long. Honest, I haven't, boss.
Get out while I switch off the light. Come on, get out. Where's the bitchy key?
Please, boss, let me explain.
You'll explain to the police in the morning. Go on, shove off.
No.
And put that spanner back, or I'll have you for theft as well as...
Mr. Craddock! Mr. Craddock! I didn't mean to hit him. I threw the spanner into the disused well by the green and ran home. About 6 o'clock in the morning, I crept out of the house. He was lying there, lying in the pouring rain.
All right, Mr. Brett. You'd better come with me. And so I took Brett back to the yard where he was cautioned, booked, and duly charged. Now, unlike previous arrests, the killer was discovered not because he gave himself away, but as a result of pure deduction. How good a detective are you? Why did it have to be Brett? Because every clue pointed to him as the culprit. In the first place, I asked. And what about the door separating this office from the works?
If you take a look, sir, you'll see it's one of those self-locking jobs.
Self-locking? Then how did Brett get into the office to telephone the police? Besides, we know that someone killed Craddock round midnight, yet it didn't start to rain until after 6 a.m., which means someone dragged the drenched body into the works after that time. Brett admits he arrived for work at 7 a.m., a rather clumsy murder, and that is why in my docket I stress that Brett's confession could be true when he says that he ran after his boss, who found him printing the stuff, pleaded with him not to go for the police, and struck with a spanner without realizing what he'd done. No cold, calculating killer would have returned to the scene of the crime and dragged the body into the printing works. He was sentenced to 15 years hard labor.
The epic Casebook was produced by Michael Silver with Hugh Rouse as Inspector Carr. Listen again next Thursday night at 9:30 to another exciting story from our epic Casebook.